Thank you, Shweta, and just standing on the shoulders of my esteemed colleagues. As I see it, the food, water, and energy problem is not a resource problem. It's a problem of inequity. It's about inequitable access. It's about intergenerational and intra-generational inequity. So we need to right this wrong. And therefore, the global frameworks and their adaptation or adoption into the national strategies. And how do we do that? So I'll just jump into some of the solutions which I see have a great potential and value. So first thing is that everyone spoke about the interconnectivity, and I see it as a multiverse of energy, environment, food, and water. Actions are happening together in all these domains, and they are interconnected at the same time. So let me suggest some of the solutions. The first thing is that there's probably a lack of centralized water data sharing platforms, which are easily accessible. Now, at Niti Aayog, there was an effort to combine all of the energy data, and probably something of that sort needs to be done at local, national, regional, and then global level. And platform which is easily accessible, where universities, companies can add data and take data, an open source database. Second is, we need to look at projects and how do we incentivize some of these projects which enhance resource efficiency. And how can we look at some of the market mechanisms to increase this resource efficient water use. At the moment, the challenge is that pricing of water is inadequate. And we have companies which extract groundwater. In fact, when I looked up, India is one of the cheapest countries where, in terms of pricing of tap water. And equivalently, the price of tap water is up to 100 times more in Russia at Moscow. So how can we, unless we get water efficiency ingrained into our water distribution systems, water treatment systems, will not be able to solve this problem. Another aspect is on domestic water use. Now, when we look at, we have different types of domestic water use for drinking, for sanitation, for health, and so on, for watering plants. But here in our cities, we are using the same treated water for all our applications. Now, how can we address that challenge? And if you look at the Middle East countries, and I stay in Dubai, that several of the irrigation systems, and you have a lot of greenery there, are from treated water. But here, we are looking at the same use of water in households, for washing, for cleaning, for utilization of other domestic needs. While at University of Geneva, we even looked at how can we extract the rejected heat content from domestic hot water or some of the water which is wasted, and how can we use that rejected water, which is at about 30, 40 degrees, to drive, to extract heat and drive heat pumps. So these are some of the technological solutions, which can solve some of the problems. The other part I wanted to touch upon is, integrated city planning and ecosystem management approaches. And that's extremely, extremely important because we are going back to the nature. And I'll give an example again from Switzerland, where there was in the 60s a move to canalize or cementize or concretize some of the rivers and canals. And now we are going back and removing those embankments so that there is nature positive approach and you can recharge the groundwater and there's way for the river to flow. In terms of one of the principles, we need to go ahead from the current strategy of embedding doing no harm principle to nature positive or regenerative systems. Because we need to understand there are two issues with water. One is about stocks and one is about flows. anything which extracts more water than replenishes it is not sustainable. And our panelists have talked about unsustainability. So we need to see that all our industrial as well as domestic applications need to be not only or should move to a regenerative approach. How do we recharge all of these systems? And lastly, I will just touch upon some of the issues of how innovation can help in streamlining some of these systems and getting efficiency in water distribution as well as treatment. And here I would like to point out the role of technological innovations, but also financial innovation in making access to water cheaper, as well as making use of market mechanisms for water. And for that, policy support is critical and essential. I'll stop here, Shweta. Thank you.
Thank you, Kapil.